Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to take you through a little bit about challenges that different individual attachment styles have who are insecurely rooted in their attachment style when it comes to the different 7 areas of life, and really what it takes to create self mastery in the 7 areas of life as an insecurely attached individual. So, what I'm going to start by doing is just outlining some of the root causes why different insecurely attached people can struggle with self mastery in all of the areas of their lives that they have. And I'll really show you like the root cause and what this looks like. And then I'll give you some tips and tools for how to work through this and some systems you can put into your life that will help you. So, this will be how to master relationships, career challenges, finances, physical health, mental, emotional well being, your spiritual life, all these different areas of your life. So before I dive in, we are still doing a sale to support our community right now. The coupon code is with you, all one word, for 25% off all of our membership bundles. So for the all access pass to all courses, all previously stored webinars, live 4 webinars a week that I do with the students. And I will put a link in the description box below and a link on this video as well. So let's talk about this for a moment. So, when we look at the root causes for why different attachment styles can struggle to like really feel in charge and in flow and in control of their lives, if you just look at the framework of what it means to be an insecurely attached person, what you'll see is that whenever there's some form of trauma, okay, trauma being anything that we couldn't properly emotionally process or make sense of, so we store it as a painful memory instead with all of our emotion intact. And whenever this happens, it waits to come back up as a trigger. Now, the more challenges or traumas, aka unprocessed and misunderstood emotional experiences where we have unmet needs or we give painful meaning to an event, wherever we have these unprocessed traumas, because your subconscious mind stores every memory ever with all of the emotion intact, even though it consolidates memories and things like this over time, basically what happens is you start piling up real estate in your brain that all has to do with basically unprocessed emotion. So you go through life and you start having this experience where it's like, if you have the wound of not being good enough because maybe you had a really critical parent and you couldn't figure that out and it just hurt. If you gave meaning to being emotionally neglected and you're like, well, there must be something wrong with me, because the childhood mind can't go, oh, my caregivers are emotionally unavailable and that's strange and that's too bad. I'll have to work on that. Like, you don't get that opportunity. Instead, you personalize stuff and you make it mean that there's something wrong with you or that you're defective or that you're unworthy or you're not good enough or fill in the blanks. So we have these painful experiences, and you can think of them as like they start to mount in like emotional residue over time. And so as a net result of that, what happens is insecurely attached individuals, because they experience more attachment trauma, more pain in their relationships, they'll start giving more painful meaning to who they are at their core. And you can sort of think of the subconscious mind as like a filter that you interact with your reality through. And if this reality filter starts getting filled up with emotional residue from painful experiences, well, you lose a lot of your room to be focused, to not self sabotage, to not procrastinate, to innovate, to be creative, to be peaceful, present, not panic under pressure. And so when you have all of this attachment trauma, the more there is, the more that's going to act as a barrier to you succeeding and feeling really thrilled and like you're thriving in the different areas of your life. So what I want to take you through here for a moment is some steps that you can use to notice that and understand what that's made up of, but even more in depth, how to actually put systems into your life to get yourself out of those dynamics and situations so that you can still have an equal chance to thriving and succeeding as somebody who's securely attached. Now, keep in mind as I go through this content in this video, my honest advice is do the work to reprogram your attachment style. Fix that emotional trauma at its root in all forms, because it is reprogrammable. You weren't born with that stuff. It got programmed in, and by the same token, it can be programmed out and transformed completely. However, if you're looking for like a quick, like, let me figure out what's blocking me and what's going on, then this is the perfect video, okay? And I'm going to give you a little bit of tools in here anyways for how to start reprogramming. So first and foremost, we want to look at all 7 areas of our lives. And we want to, step 1, take inventory. So the 7 areas of life are career, financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and relationships. And relationships can be broken down into friends, family, romantic. And so, what you want to do first is we have to get intentional, which means step two, we have to define what success looks like to us, or mastery, or fulfillment, or whatever it is that you're trying to create. And this means setting like a very, very clear vision. This means like, relationship success. Maybe for some people, it's getting married and having kids within a certain period of time. For other individuals, it's going to be like having a thriving partnership that makes me super happy, having harmony and joy and deep conversations in all the relationships around me, having a certain number of friendships, having a certain number of mentors. Like it could be anything. So you have to get really specific as to what it is for you. And the next step, step three, is going to be to define what's blocking you, to ask yourself, why haven't I achieved these things already? And whatever comes up for you is going to be most likely a belief that you carry about yourself, probably because of some kind of painful past experience. So for example, you might say, well, I want all these friendships, or I want a romantic relationship, but I'm not good enough to, attract the partner that I want, or I'm generally disliked by people, or I'm not good with people, and so we're going to find our stories that are basically acting as a barrier at a subconscious level between ourselves and what it is that we truly want to create. And so what you want to do then is you want to put these things on paper. And you want to work to start telling yourself a new story every day. You want to think, act, and feel as if those stories do not determine your life, as if they're not true any further. Now, if we just try to fake it till we make it, it can have reverse effects. What we actually want to be able to do is we want to be able to look for evidence why these new ways of thinking, acting, and feeling are possibilities. So for example, if you're going to tell a new story about how you are good enough and you are capable to have the career or the job that you want, the whole like just do an affirmation thing can actually have reverse effects, because the subconscious mind doesn't speak through language, it speaks through emotion. So if you say, I am good enough, I am good enough, I am good enough, your subconscious might feel, if it's been programmed in the opposing direction for a long period of time, it might go, no, you're not good enough. And then you feel negative emotion about that, which actually makes you feel even more not good enough. So what you want to do and how we bypass that, one of many ways, is to just start looking for evidence of how you are good enough. Find pieces of proof. Why? Because those pieces of evidence are actually images in your mind with stored associations and emotions within them, which means you're pretty much guaranteed to elicit emotion and an emotional response. So if you say, okay, I'm good enough because I did this schooling, or I completed this program, or I worked in this job, or I got these awards. If you give yourself pieces of proof, what actually happens is your conscious mind, when it thinks of them, it puts up these images, and the language and those images are encoded with emotion. What it felt like to graduate from the school you went to, or what it felt like to have that high powered job, or whatever it might be. You can pick small things or big things. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you find consistent pieces of evidence that elicit some kind of emotional response. And over time, once you start, embedding that in your subconscious, once you start knowing that this is what's possible, repetition plus emotion also reprograms. And images and emotion are the language that the subconscious receives. So these are really important places to get started. And then what I really recommend doing is noticing something. And this is this principle that I've seen so many times in my work with people and clients for so many years now, and seeing so many individuals' lives from the inside out, whether it's in workshops or in my practice or inside of the personal development school. And this is that if we don't learn the lessons that life is bringing to us, if we don't figure out, hey, I need to, manage my finances better, or I need to communicate differently in relationships, or if we don't get those lessons, they don't go away or get smaller. They get bigger and they get louder over time. They knock at our door with even more force until we're forced to pay attention. And this is because life is not stagnant. Life is moving. So our life's lessons, or the things we have to learn to empower ourselves to grow, you can think of them as having a gravitational force, right? Or it's like we have to keep pushing ourselves to grow. We have to push back against all the things that are forever changing and evolving, and we have to show up. And if we're not, we don't like just stay stagnant. We actually dig deeper into a larger rut over time, and it gets harder to climb out of that over time as a general rule. So, what you want to do when you're trying to like create self mastery is number one, define what that is. Number two, start to work to reprogram the barriers you have to those areas of your life. And number three, you have to pick one area of your life at a time, maybe two, to really, really hone in on. We can't just do all 7 areas of life exactly at the same time and dive right in. So you want to ask yourself, out of those 7 areas of life that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, where am I least empowered and what's calling for my attention the most right now? And you're going to know because it's going to be the area of your life you're least comfortable with. It could be your relationships. It could be your finances. It could be your career and feeling like you don't have a purpose or you're just sort of drifting. Whatever it is, you have to start paying attention. And then what you're going to do from there is you're going to really work to find a plan that works for you. How do I get from point A to point B, from where I am now to that dream vision that I've defined for what success or self-mastery looks like? And what you want to be able to do is when you have that clear picture from point A to point B, you create a roadmap. You're like, okay, if I need to find, the career of my dreams, okay, well, what do I do? I have to do my research as to what that is. I have to start trying different things out. I have to start, asking more questions, applying for different jobs, maybe going back to school and educating myself, whatever it might be. You have to create a whole bunch of strategies. And then you have to break those strategies down into action steps, things that you can action on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, so that you literally have them mapped out. So it's like you define what you want, you define the direction, you put all the pieces, all the incremental pieces that I would need to get from point A to point B. You're essentially reverse engineering the process. And then you're creating strategies on behalf of those pieces and you're time boxing them. And when you start doing this and showing up, what you'll eventually find is that things start going well. And then what your job becomes to do is to start noticing things are going well, feeling empowered, and then creating systems. And creating systems that say, like, let's say, for example, you're working on physical, maybe you're working on your health. So maybe you're going, okay, what do I start? I start by researching what's a health plan that works for me. And I start by defining what that looks like, what perfect health looks like for me. Is it that I have tons of energy in the morning? Is it that I, go through my workouts and I feel amazing at the end? Is it that I sleep well and feel recharged regularly? Is it that I have the ability to be present and in my interactions? What is that? And what's between you and that? And can I remove those limiting beliefs and programs? And then can I create a whole bunch of action steps and strategies to get myself from where I am now to that point? And then put those into time boxes. Like maybe on Mondays, I'm going to do an elimination diet. And first Monday, I'm going to cut all foods out of my diet that I think might be making me feel not the best that I could possibly feel. And then maybe on Tuesdays, I'm going to research about food. Maybe on Wednesdays, I'm going to do an extra workout. Whatever it is, you have to put in like systems that work for you. And once you've repeated these systems long enough, they're going to get ingrained subconsciously. And then they're going to be your new way of operating. And this is what you want to do for all areas of your life. And once you've programmed in these new operational systems you've developed that are getting you on track from point A to point B, all of a sudden you're going to start feeling really empowered and you're going to start feeling really clear. And then we can start leaving these parts of our lives on autopilot to a certain degree. We can go, okay, health is taken care of. Okay, relationships are taken care of. I've got good habits. I'm clear about what I want. I've achieved those things. And then I have these systems to keep them in place and keep them thriving. And so this is like, I know this probably seemed like so much information. I have a course inside of the school. If you're like, I want to master my life, it breaks this down in a tremendous amount of detail with like a 15-page workbook that you can just fill in all the sheets. It's super simple. It's called the Mindset Mastery and Life Mapping course. And it goes through all of this. But this is like what we have to do as human beings, because if we don't, wherever we leave our lives on autopilot, the world comes and it smacks us a little bit. It's like, hey, pay attention to this area of your life. You've been leaving it alone. We might have the guy on Wall Street who's crushing career and financial, but then he's not showing up for relationships or physical health. And one day, maybe his family splits up and his health is not in good shape and he has to take 2 years away from career and financial anyways to repair his health or, deal with the repercussions of having to separate and all the things that come with that. And so What I want you to realize is that it's super important that we have intentionality, we have direction, we define what we want, we create strategies to get from where we are now to that thing, and we repeat these strategies and find out what's working for us as individuals consistently enough and repetitively enough over time that these get ingrained within us at a subconscious level, so that then we just become the people who have all of these fantastic systems working for us. Life flows easily, and then we can start focusing on the next area of our life that we really want to conquer or show up for, while just having these healthy habits that we check in with in the places that we've already achieved mastery. And when we reach this point, we feel empowered, we feel inspired, we feel energized, we feel actually fulfilled in our lives. And this is the standard that I really believe everybody should be holding themselves to in life. We shouldn't shortchange ourselves and think, oh, like we'll just figure it out or we'll see what happens. No, we deserve to live lives that we want and that we feel good about and that we wake up and we're excited for. And we have to take these steps in order to get there. So remember, it's easy to have all of these distractions from our painful attachment trauma from the past or these painful challenges that we've been through, but we have to process things out, get intentional, create action steps and strategies, reverse engineer those steps into like time boxes, like when we're going to start taking those steps and for how long and what days of the week. And then we have our lives in a systematic order. And the more we do that over time, the more empowered we feel. So I hope this all makes sense. I hope it's not too much information in one single little video, but it's just really important. I felt really inspired to share this with you guys because of the fact that, everybody deserves to live a fulfilled life. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video.